Hello and welcome back to our YouTube channel. Firstly, thank you very much for the support we got last weekend. We had a nice few selections come in, few that went down the Swanee, but overall great weekends racing. We're joined by the usual suspects this week. So Harry, Lee, how are you this week?
Yeah, all good, Ash.
Yeah, all good, buddy. All good from my side.
Super. This week we've got a very special guest, as you can see on the bottom corner of your screens. We've got Leigh Armstrong from Racing with Pride. So Lee, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, and thank you very much for inviting me. It's very kind.
Oh, thank you very much for coming on. Honestly, I'm really looking forward to this one. So obviously, Lee, you're with the committee member for Racing with Pride. Started up a year and a half ago. Can you just talk a little bit about Racing with Pride and what it does within horse racing?
Well, Racing with Pride is the official LGBT network launched to increase support, awareness and engagement within the community. It started in September 2020, and the network was designed for British racing's participants, its workforce and its fans, those who identify as lesbian, gay, bi, trans and other sexual orientations and gender identities, as well as the allies of the LGBT community who want to demonstrate their support regardless of their identity. And it's kind of got three main aims, really. Firstly, support to offer a safe space for LGBT plus people and allies to meet, to receive support, have fun and enjoy their racing online and in person. Awareness to promote better understanding of LGBT plus inclusion, to ensure racing is everyone's sport and encouraging all to step up as allies. And finally, the engagement side, providing a platform for the sports LGBT plus community to have a collective voice in shaping the industry's future.
That is honestly great to hear. It sounds amazing, really, what you're doing. And unfortunately, with racing, sometimes, well, most of the time when we're in the news, it's for the bad headlines. But with something like this, it really highlights the inclusivity within horse racing that you're trying to bring forward. Obviously, you had some really nice comments from Claire Boulding and so many high profile journalists within horse racing. And you've got a growing following on Facebook and Twitter. So can you just sort of like tell me how great is it to see that sort of support going through in this short space of time?
Well, I mean, as you say, it's an increasing challenging time for many in racing. This can be exaggerated for minority groups, so it's kind of really been good for there to be opportunities for us to get together. We've grown our membership from 0 to 220 since September 2020. We've got over 900 followers on Twitter, and we've got a thriving Facebook group. And it's been really good. We're all dotted around the country. So first of all, obviously with COVID, we started out with Zoom meetings. And then very quickly, we kind of got to Newmarket Open Day. Jockey Club invited us there. We were able to present prizes and judge a best turned out, and invited into the roll box. So, it's a really good start. Downhill could only be the way, really. And then we went invited to Cheltenham, the Jockey Club. Yesterday, we were at Ascot, you may have noticed, and they were filming for diversity in racing. And we also cheered winners home, pretend or otherwise, ripping up tickets and things. So, I mean, already there's been quite a few different opportunities for us to get together. And we've got little groups now, people going point to pointing, people owning shares in horses together that a year ago didn't know each other. So it's really kind of about building confidence. And for me, someone who's been in racing kind of all their life, 59-year-old gay man, didn't really know any other gay people that liked horse racing a year ago. This has been a fantastic later life thing for me. And I found it to be really great and enjoyable.
Obviously, great to hear. And we'll just go to our resident Lee for a question. So, Lee.
Yeah, I was just to pick up there. One thing you said was everyone's sport, which I really like what you said there. So obviously including everyone in it. But so I was just going to say, how long have you had a passion for racing? What brought you into racing, and when did you first attend a course and stuff like that?
Okay, so I was very hyperactive as a child. My dad and granddad used to kind of bounce me on their knee, and the only way they could sort of shut me up was to read the Daily Telegraph racing pages. and say the names of the horses and make funny names. And then obviously no internet in those days, so I'd then wait for the next day's results, and hopefully some of the horses we picked out had won. So it kind of really started from that. I've always loved horse racing. And kind of earliest memories, you know, be like the early 1970s with Mill Reef and Brigadier Gerard, and Gay Trip won the very first national that I watched, which is quite strange moving forward another 40 or 50 years. Must have known something at the time. I was 8 when he won. So my kind of earliest memories are around really going to a place like Y Racecourse, which is long closed, and going to Ascot as a kid and watching the King George. I've got pictures of me in like shorts and little check trousers and things. I've kind of always really been involved, really the first 15, 20 years. I was brought up in the day, Leicester Pigott, Willie Carson, Pat Edry, Greville Starkey, that kind of vibe. And then I kind of switched somehow to chasing, national hunt racing in the early 90s, and that's kind of more now my scene, I think.
And just quickly, Leigh, I know you mentioned there about how you brought in sort of different people, sort of for like a syndicate kind of thing, sort of like the owners thing. I saw you ran a campaign where you designed a racing silks. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. So as part of the Racing's Everyone Sport campaign, we were given the opportunity to develop a set of silks, and I don't think they realised what they were letting themselves in for, because then once we put it all together, there was like 11 different colours in the winning design, which is absolutely fantastic. But really, normally you're only allowed 3 different colours. So, you know, there's 11, and Allertons, who make the colours, are like, oh yes, we'd love to do this. And then we kind of presented the winners, and oh, okay, well, we're going to be busy. And my friends Ellen and Katie put in the winning design, and they were invited to Allertons to see them made. And they were worn very quickly. John Berry had a runner, I think at Chelmsford, and they were worn by Faye McManaman, and we got fantastic feedback for that. So Weatherby's they're registered with, but owners can ask to use them, and at various times of the year when we've got, you know, Gay Pride Month or LGBT History Month, then obviously we want to promote them more. And then Rosie World wore them with Susie Smith at Leicester. So we've had one run on flat and one on jumps. Neither, unfortunately, have hit the frame yet, so that's obviously a biggie coming up. But I think Weatherby's would quite like an owner to have his horses wear them for the season or for a period of time. That might be a bigger ask, but certainly we're looking. I have a share in a horse called Beat the Heat with Jim Boyle, and Jim has said that, you know, anytime we want to, we can do that with Inside Track Racing. So there's quite a lot of people offering already to take them on. They're very vivid. You wouldn't, obviously, on a foggy day at Exeter, you won't be missing them on the way round, that's for sure.
I can imagine if it was, say, your silks up against the grey silks of Santini, like you said, on a foggy day, I know which one you'd be able to see more clearly.
The trouble is, if the commentator mentions the horse with the colours, by the time he's gone through the 11 colours, the 5 furlong sprint will have finished. So I think we're just going to say that with the multiple colours.
That's a good way to go about it. And we'll just we'll bring in Harry now. So Harry, would you like to fire away with your question?
Yeah, perfect. I mean, I'd just like to say, obviously, Leigh, the short time that obviously Racing with Pride has obviously became apparent in horse racing, I think what a success it's been. And obviously that's a credit to you guys. So I'd just like to ask you, obviously, in a 5 years' time as more of a long-term project, what would be the long-term goal for Racing with Pride, and what would horse racing as a sport in general, what would that need to do to adapt to that and to go forward?
Well, I suppose over the next few years, if you go from a starting point that things are okay, but we want to make them better than okay. So, you know, if you live in London or big cities, Manchester, things are fairly okay, but it's still not so great in the countryside. You're still thinking about young stable hands going into racing in the country where there's maybe not such a high visibility of LGBT, maybe trans people trying to get into being stable staff, and what that might be difficult still. So I suppose it's not tangible in a way, it's about building confidence. And for example, you know, if we go to the races like this, it'd be good if you have under the Frankel bar, if you're from the LGBT community and you want to meet up for a drink, to come and meet us. You know, it'd be quite easy for race courses on the website to have a little section there to get together meeting points. Even things like gender neutral toilets, you know, not loads, just having 1 or 2 at each racetrack. Not going to cost a lot of money, making sure all the locks on the cubicle doors work. You know, we're not talking big time stuff here, but I would just like to see a developing kind of confidence and accessibility for people. So you might kind of think, oh, there's not really any issues, so what's kind of going on here? So it's just little subtle things. I mean, I guess, so if you look in 10 years' time, you think, if there's no need for this group, that would be the outcome. You know, why do you need this group? You won't need the group if it's no longer an issue. And I guess that's really what the ultimate aim would be, to make ourselves all redundant. But that still seems a way down the line. And I think kind of transphobia in a way is the new homophobia, you know, and even a lot of gay groups on their websites. I belong to a gay tennis group that still talks about lesbian and gay men, doesn't talk about non-binary or bisexual people. So, you know, if you're a bisexual or non-binary person looking at ASCOT's website, what are you going to see on there that kind of encourages you to go and you'll feel safe and comfortable? So it's not going to be rocket science stuff, not necessarily expensive stuff, but just kind of taking the industry with us. We've got a lot of support with journalists, with commentators. You know, Ollie Bell did a turn for us yesterday. Lee Mottishead is on our committee. So I kind of think the profile will be there. It's just getting we don't have any funding in Racing Pride. So, you know, we don't have a particular status. We're an offshoot of the BHA, Diversity in Racing Group. So, you know, I think it's kind of from acorns grow big oak trees, and we're still at the acorn-ish stage.
Yeah, perfect. I mean, obviously, thank you for obviously answering that question. And I think, obviously, just touching on what you were saying, as in kind of you'd rather make yourselves all redundant, obviously making it as a joke. But I think that the notice that people are obviously going to need to get, and the good notice that we're all making this impression of, I think, do you think that is the ultimate aim? And obviously 10 years, it could be quite shorter than that, do you not think?
Yeah, I mean, we went to the Tingle Creek meeting to give out Racing's Everyone's sports badges, and it was absolutely rammed there. And I was sort of a bit scared, really, about, you know, kind of going up and giving out badges and stuff to loads of young straight guys, you know, some that already tanked up on the way to the course. But it was kind of incredible, the response really that we got. And we didn't really get any negative feedback. Obviously, some people walked past and said no thanks. But I think it's all kind of about the language that you use as well. You know, if you sort of say we're trying to increase diversity in racing, people might think, oh, no, sorry, I don't want a badge. If you sort of said racing's everyone's sport, do you agree with that? Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I'll take one. And so I kind of think it's just about demystifying things, but also kind of recognizing that things are okay and it's all right. But it's then just about how you take it forward. You know, you can say, oh yeah, my brother's gay, or I've got my neighbour's gay, but that's not being an ally. You know, you have to kind of do more than that. So it's about challenging banter and challenging behaviour. And I think if we can get more allies as well supporting us, that it'll very quickly, there'll be a normalisation of things. But I think it is going to take some work in the next few years to get to that far.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, so just a couple more questions, but I think we'll put in the link, obviously, the Racing with Pride link, your Twitter, if you can, Leigh, as well. And obviously, the more people that share and follow and obviously learn about stuff and the causes, obviously, it's a great thing. But I was just going to mention, so Cheltenham is coming up, it's around the corner. Have you got any festival memories, or
yes,
do you go often? Or
well, I worked for William Hills when I left school, and I worked as a board boy, which I don't even know if you guys will know what that is, like writing up the results in felt tip pens. That was how it was. And then because I was kind of outgoing and social and stuff, I got invited to work in the credit section on the race course and taking clients' bets, and also to help laying off money down the rails, which used to be literally hundreds of pounds in my pocket going down, shortening up prices. No internet then. But I worked on the race courses 1980, 81, 82, and I haven't been back to Cheltenham since then. So the last time I went, Ruby Walsh's dad rode Daring Run Ted Walsh Road Run came third in the champion hurdles. So that's how long ago it is since I've been. I mean, obviously I watch it all the time, but I kind of like, you know, Ascot's, Kempton, Sandowns. I live in Croydon, so that's more like for me. I don't really like big crowds. Tingle Creek was a bit much for me. But I mean, I sort of started with the sort of, so the honeysuckles of this world used to have champion hurdles with Nightner, Sea Pigeon, Bird's Nest, Monksfield, like 4 or 5 honeysuckles all up against each other. That's how it kind of was in the 70s and early 80s. So that was sort of my heyday.
And you mentioned honeysuckle there. Obviously, we've got the festival coming up. Don't know if you've had a lot of time to scan across the cars, but what would you say is your best bet going into the Cheltenham Festival? Which one would you be sort of your most confident one going into it?
Well, I am a sort of an each way thief, really. So I'm kind of always, I'm always looking from the outsiders in, and then when I find one or two I like, then I sort of don't carry on so much. So I'm kind of looking at, well, I was looking at Tiapu before he won yesterday. I really like that horse, and I think 8-1, fantastic each way bet, and he can quicken twice in a race. He won't mind if the ground comes a bit good. Nubi Negra each way, same kind of thing. Diesel Dahlia in the cross country, that's when you guys probably all go and have your tea break when that race is on, but I really like that sort of thing. LA Bell in the mare's hurdle again. You know, these are all horses that are going to be like in the first 3, probably may not win, but might win if 1 or 2 little things go wrong. And I just want them to get Jack qualified for the Fox Hunters because he's my favourite horse. I think Sam's going to ride him next week and hunt him round, hopefully at Donny, and get him in. So if you like each way bets, 3 under 5 is the other one I really like. Just they haven't decided which one of the 2 races to run him in. But you know he's going to jump round. They're going to pay the first 4 or 5 in that either race. So he'll sneak in the frame. He's 12 or 14-1. So there's half a dozen little each way bets for you there.
And
I think he had obviously the form the other day with Does He Know and Diane Breed. So that 3 under 3 5s.
Yeah,
a good trade chance as well.
I was looking at that today, like everything he's beat or beaten by is running really kind of quite well. And, you know, Nichols will be back in top notch, and you know he's going to get bomb proof for the frame and get round. That's what I've written next to all of my tips, bomb proof. But that means they're probably going to jump round and sneak in the 3rd place, and you'll get more than what you put on back.
With
well, just to what, just sorry, Ash. I was just going to ask you. I know loads of people obviously that watch the show. They're all going to be asking the same question. Just a yes or no for me. Does Honeysuckle win the champion hurdle?
Yes.
There we go.
There we go. We've heard
Seems
it.
like you're getting a tattoo, aren't you, Harry? If Honeysuckle wins.
Where is the tattoo going to be,
I did agree to it. To be fairly, I think I'm still yet to decide where the tattoo will end up being if she does win.
Across the chest.
I think I'm probably going a horse across the chest and then Honeysuckle the best on the top of the back, I think.
Yeah. And then when you're like 45 or something, you'll be thinking, God, why did I get that done?
Well, if she does win, she's clearly one of the greatest mares the sport has ever seen. So I would more than happily risk it for the cause. So yeah, that's all from me.
Just finally, you said 3 under 3 5 there. You said whichever race he goes for. If you trained or owned the horse, where would you send 3 under 3 5?
I think the horse is quick enough for the, well, I call it the Sun Alliance chase, because that's the trouble with me. I can't keep up with all these different names. I'd go for the quicker race, all relative, of course, but I think it's quick enough to do that.
Brilliant. So obviously you'll be training him in a year once he wins, of course.
Yes.
You'll get the keys off Paul Nichols.
Yeah, and don't forget, Beat the Heat, my horse with Jim Boyle, I own sharing, so you need to look out for him. He'll probably run Cheltenham week or the week before at Fontwell, maybe on the 9th. And hopefully he'll be my Cheltenham in the 0 to 100 handicap hurdle at Fontwell. I'll be watching that more so.
We will definitely watch out for it. So that's all from us, Leigh. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you.
I've really enjoyed the time here, and I'm sure I'm speaking for both Harry and Leigh there. We've really enjoyed having you on, and I can't wait for 3 under 3 5 to win.
Thank you. And don't forget at Racing with Pride on the Facebook and at Twitter. So there are our handles. So I'll get shot if I don't mention that. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you,
Super.
Leigh.
Thanks very
care.
much. Take care.
Speak soon.